The plains of Punjab are famous for sudden summer storms. A fierce gale, a sharp burst of warm rain, and the muddy gullies overflow to meet the river Beas. Chooheram was a fat rat who lived in Taran Taran village in Punjab. One day, as he was going home, there was a sudden storm. He decided to dig a hole in the ground and sit there until the storm blew over. While digging, he found a dry root. Such a perfect dry root, said Chooheram to himself. It'll make an excellent fire. So he set it aside carefully to take it home with him. When the skies cleared up, he set off with the dry root in his mouth. As he daintily picked his way through the puddles, he saw a poor man trying to light a fire, while his children stood around him wailing loudly. "Ow, ow, ow!" exclaimed Chooheram. "What a dreadful noise! What is the matter?" "My children are hungry," answered the man. "But the sticks are damp, so the fire won't kindle, so I can't bake the rotis." "Is that all?" asked Chooheram. "Here, take this sotti, this dry root. It will soon make a fine fire." The poor man, with 1,000 thanks, took the root. The fire burnt immediately, and he made hot rotis for his children. He gave Chooheram a fresh roti. "What a clever fellow I am," thought Chooheram as he trotted off gaily. "Fancy making a bargain like that. A delicious roti in return for a rotten old sotti. Vah, Chooheram!" He patted himself. Hugging his roti, he came to a potter's yard. The potter was trying to quieten his 3 little children who were howling as if they would burst. "Have mercy!" cried Chooheram, shutting his ears. "What a noise! Do tell me what it's all about." "They are hungry," replied the potter. "Their mother has gone to buy flour. In the meantime, I can neither work nor rest." "Is that all?" asked Chooheram. "Here, take this roti quickly and stuff it in their mouths." So the potter did, and the children immediately fell quiet. The potter was so grateful that he chose his nicest round pot and gifted it to Chooheram. Chooheram was delighted. "Oh, what a fine choti!" he cried. The choti was a little difficult for him to handle, but he finally managed to balance it on his head. He tiptoed, tink-a-tink, tink-a-tink, down the road with the pot on his head and his tail draped over his arm so that he wouldn't trip over it. He was very pleased with himself.
I gave a root and got some food. I'm such a clever rat.
and by, he came to a field where some cowherds were herding their cattle. One of them was milking a buffalo. He was collecting the milk in his shoe. "Oh ho!" cried Chooheram, shocked. "What a nasty thing to do! Why don't you use a bucket?" "We haven't got one, that's why." "And Moti, my buffalo, has to be milked before the sun rises too high," growled the cowherd. "If that is all," replied Chooheram, "oblige me by using this choti." The cowherd took the pot with a careless shrug and milked the buffalo until the pot was brimming over. Then, turning to Chooheram, he said, "Here, little fellow, you may have a sip of milk in payment." But Chooheram was shrewd. "No, no, my friend," said he, "that will not do. My pot is worth more than a few sips of milk. I never make a bad bargain, so I expect you to give me your buffalo in return for my pot." "Nonsense," cried the cowherd. "My moti for your choti? Whoever heard of such a deal? And why on earth do you want a buffalo? Why, you were struggling even with the pot." Chooheram drew himself up with dignity. He did not like fun poked at his sides. "That is my affair," he said. "Your business is to hand over the buffalo." Laughed and laughed when they heard Chooheram sing in his squeaky voice. So just for fun, they loosened the buffalo's halter and began to tie it to the rat's tail. "No, no," he called. "If the beast pulled, my tail would come off, and then what would I do? Tie it around my neck, please." So chuckling and sniggering, they tied the rope around the rat's neck. Chooheram set off at a happy trot. But when he came to the end of the tether, he was brought to a sharp halt. The buffalo would not budge from her tuft of grass. As Chooheram stood wondering what to do, Moti found another juicy tuft and marched off. Chooheram had to trot obediently after her if he didn't want to be strangled by the rope. When the cowherds roared with laughter, he took no notice but trotted on, as dignified as possible. "Ta-ta, I'm going home this way. It's much shadier." But by evening, he was dead tired and truly thankful when the great big beast sat under a tree to chew its cud. Just then, a bridal party came by. The bridegroom and his friends had gone on ahead to the next village. The bride was in a carriage which was being drawn by two young men. Seeing a nice shady tree, the men stopped and began to cook some food. "What meanness," grumbled one. "Royal wedding indeed. Not even a horse to draw the carriage? It would serve them right if we upset the princess into a ditch." "Dear me, the royal bearers have to pull the carriage like a pair of horses?" cried Chooheram at once, seeing a way out of his own difficulty. "That is a shame. I sympathize with you. If you will allow me, I'll give you my buffalo Moti. She will pull the carriage." "Your buffalo? What rubbish! Whoever heard of a rat owning a buffalo?" "Not often, I admit," said Chooheram with pride. "But look, I am leading the beast by a string." "Oh, never mind," cried one of the bearers. "I would like a buffalo to draw the carriage in my place." They ate their dinner and, thanking Chooheram for the buffalo, offered him the remains of their food as reward. "Now look here," cried Chooheram hotly. "You don't suppose I gave you my best buffalo, my Moti, that gives 100 liters of milk every day for a wee bit of rice? No, I'm quite of age, so I will have the bride, a Voti for my Moti, and nothing else. Or I shall surely inform the king of your laziness." Alarmed by the threat, the bearers rode off on the bewildered buffalo, leaving the bride in her carriage. In the sweetest voice, Chooheram begged the princess to step down from the carriage. "Come with me, my dearest bride," said Chooheram. The princess was quite taken aback to find a rat calling her his bride, but she was afraid of spending a night in the wilderness. So she meekly followed Chooheram, who kept congratulating himself. "How clever I am! What wonderful bargains I make!" When they arrived at his hole, he said, "Welcome, my dear, to my humble abode. Let me lead you into our home." And he slipped into his hole. When his bride did not follow, he put his nose out again, saying irritably, "Well, madam, don't you know it's rude to keep your husband waiting?" "My good husband," laughed the young bride, "I can't squeeze into that little hole." Chooheram coughed. "Yes, you are a bit overgrown. Tonight you can rest under that wild plum tree. But I'm so hungry." cried the bride. Dear, dear, everybody seems hungry today, grumbled Chooheram. I'll fetch you some supper. So he ran into his hole and came back with one dry pea. There, said he. Isn't that a fine meal? I can't eat that, whimpered the bride. It isn't even a mouthful. I want cake and eggs. Oh dear me, cried Chooheram. What a nuisance a bride is. Why don't you eat the wild plums? I can't live on wild plums, bawled the bride. Besides, they're only half ripe. So the next morning, Chooheram nibbled away at the stalks till the wild plums fell down into the bride's veil. She carried them into Amritsar, calling out through the streets, "Wild plums I sell, wild plums. King's daughter I am, rat's bride as well. Wild plums I sell, wild plums. King's daughter I am, rat's bride as well."
Lelo khatte be, oh lelo meethe be, lelo khatte be, lelo meethe be, ho raje di main beti mainu chooha le gaya gher, mainu chooha le gaya gher, lelo khatte be, lelo meethe be.
The queen heard her voice and came running out. When she recognized her daughter, she was overjoyed. Everyone had thought that the poor bride had been eaten by wild beasts. There was great rejoicing all over Amritsar. Chooheram, meanwhile, waited and waited for his bride. When it got dark, and it was clear that his bride was not coming back, he said to himself, "Well, good riddance. Brides are a nuisance." He went into his cold hole and wished he had a nice dry sotti to burn, to keep the hole warm. As he settled to sleep, Chooheram vowed that never again would he make a bargain. For a dry root is often better than a bride.
Sotti di main roti litti, roti di main choti litti. I gave a root and got some food. I'm such a clever rat. I gave a root and got some food. I'm such a clever rat.
Once I had gone to Nanikhet, a tiny little village hidden somewhere in the Sahyadri mountains. I had worked there and planned to stay just for a day, but I had to extend my stay and needed a place where I could spend the night. Now, Nanikhet is a very small village. It has no hotels and it has no motels. By 7 in the evening, everyone is back in their homes and there is not a soul on the roads. The entire place is deserted. I was wondering what to do when luckily I met Vishwas Rao, the tea shop owner. He suggested that I stay at the Diwan Khana. The Diwan Khana? Where is that? I asked him and he told me. It wasn't very far and I started walking to what he had referred to as the Diwan Khana. It was a huge mansion, too large compared to tiny little Nanikhet. In fact, it was so huge that all the inhabitants of the village could easily be accommodated in it. But inside, there was no one. Let me tell you something. I know everyone says this about themselves, but it's true about me. I don't get scared easily. So even in the darkness, I started looking for a nice little corner where I could make myself comfortable for the night. In one of the inner rooms, I found an old tattered mattress, and I thought it was good enough for me. After all, it was just a matter of one night. So I used my briefcase as a pillow, and I made myself comfortable. I must have slowly dozed off when suddenly, tuck, 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 tuck. I got up with a start. I was sure I had heard something. And no, it was not my dreams. Tuck, tuck. Tuck, tuck. There it was again. Like I said before, I don't get scared easily. I wanted to get to the bottom of this strange knocking sound, so I got up and looked around. When I reached the large dining room, I heard it again. Tuck, 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 tuck. The sound came from the upper floor, so I quickly took the stairs and reached the first floor. The moonlight seeped through the open windows and helped me find my way. There was still no sign of the person who was making the sounds. Finally, I got tired and went back to the mattress. I decided to investigate further the next day and closed my eyes. I had a strange dream that night, filled with noises and music.
It's a bhoot, it's a bhoot. Let me know the truth. It's a bhoot, it's a bhoot. Let me know the truth. The tuck-tuck sound is filling my ears, disturbs my sleep and spreads my fears. The tuck-tuck sound is filling my ears, disturbs my sleep and spreads my fears. The tuck-tuck sound is everywhere I go. It comes from above, it comes from below. Tuck-tuck.
It's a bhoot, it's a bhoot.
Tuck-tuck.
Let me know the truth.
The tuck-tuck sound haunts my sleep, boggles my mind with fears that are deep.
The tuck-tuck sound haunts my sleep, boggles my mind with fears that are deep. In my mind, the sound is stuck everywhere. Tuck, tuck, tuck.
Oh, in my mind the sound is stuck everywhere. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Tuck, 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 tuck,
The next morning, I was in a great hurry. I had to finish my work and I forgot all about the tuck, 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 tuck. I was busy with work until the evening, and after having finally finished it, I was relieved. Now I could go back to my own house, and I didn't have to stay in that dusty old divan khana. I went to the bus stand and waited for my bus. Then suddenly, I remembered. Tuck, tuck. I felt uncomfortable. I couldn't go back home unless I solved the mystery of the sound. Where did it come from? Was it a ghost? Slowly I started walking back to the divan khana. By the time I reached the mansion, it was pitch dark. I went right up to the room where I had spent the earlier night and began wondering if I had done the right thing by coming back. What if it really was a ghost? Then suddenly, I heard it again. Tuck, 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 tuck. I rushed out of the room and went upstairs. But now it seemed that the sound was coming from the ground floor. So I rushed down the stairs and darted from one room to another. I had to find the source of the sound. I was now sure that it must be a ghost. And it seemed to be playing hide and seek with me. If I went into the kitchen, it would move into the hall. If I ran into the hall, the ghost would flit into the kitchen. I spent hours chasing after the ghost, and finally, I was tired. I walked slowly to the porch and sat down on the steps under the bright moonlit sky. In the glimmering white light, the entire landscape looked spectacular. Soft breeze swayed the leaves gently, and I was breathing in the beauty that nature exhibited before my tired eyes. The sound started again. My first reaction was to dart in and restart the chase. But then I changed my mind. I decided to let the ghost do the chasing. So I slumped back on the steps. Tuck, 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 tuck. It soon became clear to me that the ghost was not the least bit interested in me. It walked around the house completely oblivious of my presence. It just went from one room to another, and from there to yet another. Never did it come out towards the porch. I was wondering what it wanted. Maybe it just wanted to be left alone. Maybe it was looking for someone. I did not realize when I closed my eyes and went off to sleep, right there on the steps of the porch. The early morning chill woke me up with a start. The first sun rays barely hit the treetops, and I realized that if I rushed, I would be able to catch the first bus out of Nanikhet. There was no point in chasing the ghost, as it was evident that it wanted to be left alone. At the bus stop, I met Vishwas Rao. He was busy making tea, as numerous passengers would soon swarm the place, and they would all want a hot cup of tea. I went up to him and ordered a cup of tea. He smiled and inquired if my stay at the mansion was comfortable. I smiled meekly. What could I say about the sounds that didn't allow me to sleep for 2 nights? But Vishwas Rao seemed to have understood. So the sound didn't let you sleep, did it? He asked me knowingly. I just mumbled. Vishwas Rao laughed heartily and didn't say anything. Finally, unable to control myself, I had to ask, so whose ghost is it? Ghost? What ghost? Vishwas Rao seemed genuinely surprised as he poured the milk into another greasy vessel. It was now my turn to be surprised. Well, the sounds? Tuck, 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 tuck. Oh, those! That's no ghost, sir. That's just sounds. Just sounds? What do you mean by that? I was beginning to lose my patience now. Then Vishwas Rao told me about the Diwan Sahib, the old nobleman who had lived in the mansion. This was the story he told. Long ago, the Diwan Sahib used to live in the mansion all by himself. He was very old. No one was as old as him. Some even said he was 250 years old. Although he was old, he could do all his work by himself. He didn't need any help, and that's why he lived alone in this huge mansion. But he needed support. So he held a bamboo stick in his hand as he walked. It was his walking stick. When he walked, his soft old feet didn't make any sound. Only his stick did. Tuck, 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 tuck. All day he would walk around the house going about his work. Tuck, 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 tuck. He walked like that for years and years. Close to 250 years. Tuck, 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 tuck. The Diwan Sahib must have walked miles and miles in the mansion. Every step of his was accompanied by the sound of his stick. Imagine how many times he must have made that sound. Where did all the sounds go? The sounds had all got entrapped in the huge mansion. Billions and billions of tuck-tucks. Some may have leaked out through the windows. Some may have trickled out through the doors. And some may have escaped through the balconies. But there were still many left. Thousands and thousands still trapped inside the mansion. And slowly over the next few years, they too would escape, one by one, or in groups. All the tuk-tuks would slowly disappear and get lost in the forest outside. Then from there, drafts of wind would take them to the Nanikhet village. And then further away, who knows, maybe as far as Mumbai and Delhi. And only when all the sounds go will the Diwan Khana be absolutely silent. No more tuck tuck, tuck tuck, tuck tuck, tuck tuck, tuck. As you know, Sahab, for every step in life that you take, there is a tuck. And the echo of each step, each tuck, remains longer than you can imagine. And that was where Vishwas Rao's story ended. After listening to his tale, I felt at peace. At last I had solved the mystery and could go home.
It's a bhoot, it's a bhoot. Let me know the truth. It's a bhoot, it's a bhoot. Let me know the truth. The tuck-tuck sound is filling my ears, disturbs my sleep and spreads my fears. The tuck-tuck sound is filling my ears, disturbs my sleep and spreads my fears. The tuck-tuck sound is everywhere I go. It comes from above, it comes from below.
It's a bhoot, it's a bhoot. Let me know the truth.
tuck sound haunts my sleep, boggles my mind with fears that are deep.
The duck sound haunts my sleep, boggles my mind with fears that are deep.